Hello and good morning friends, welcome to the CEC-UGC live lecture. Dear friends, life brings itself various changes and changes bring positive and negative outcomes, and we have to live with those changes with all the positive and the negative outcomes, though sometimes we find some solutions to all the problems which emerges out. Dear friends, when we talk about change, we are basically today in this session going to talk about the advent of change in work culture in different arenas, and these changes bring various issues, and how these issues are dealt with in social work. Today is the discussion, is what we are going to talk about in detail. So our major area to talk about today is social work, workers, workplaces. Once again, I would like to tell you all, work, workers and workplaces is the topic on which today we are going to talk about, and for this we have again with us in our studios Dr. Sanjay Bhatt. Dr. Bhatt is a professor in Department of Social Work, University of Delhi, and Dr. Bhatt has immense experience. He is there with the Delhi University for almost 20 years, and before that he taught in various colleges and university, as well as working with the workers is his area of specialization. I would say he has worked with workers. He had tried to find out the problems which exist with the workers, and also he helped them in finding out the solution to the problem. So let's take advantages from his experiences and try to understand the topic work, workers and workplaces. Hello sir, welcome to the EduSet lecture.
Thank you.
So as we talked about the changes, what changes could we see in the area of various works or in the workplaces or with the workers?
Thank you, Geetika, and dear viewers. Today, as Geetika has told you, we will focus on the three aspects: work, workers and workplaces. There are significant changes in all these three Ws. The work is changing, workers are changing and workplaces are changing. So the work culture, work environment is also changing. Now these changes are good, some changes are not good, some changes are bringing very positive aspect in the life, some changes are bringing many problems in the life. And as a social work point of view, which provides the solutions to the problem and try to address the issues at its concern, I would like to discuss little bit in detail all these three aspects. Now, work in the sense that it is a necessity. You can't sit idle. You can't remain without work. So work is a necessity for every human being, and work is largely seen as an economic activity. An economic activity through which a person generates his or her income for the livelihood. This is what our view about the work, and we should work for earning money. This is what being told by everyone. And the economics views work as merely providing purchasing power, because when we will work, we will get the money, we will get the wages, we will get the salary, and it will it will give us some purchasing power into the market. Now, the provision of work is critical for survival and maintaining the social order in the society, because it is essential for survival and existence of the human being, and it also help in maintaining a social order in the society. So, meaning thereby that if there will be no work, people will not be getting work, people are free, they are unemployed, they are bound to create obstructions and problems, because the basic urge and the basic necessity is not being addressed. So, we have many terms listen every day related to the work: job, livelihood, employment. These all words have conveys the meaning, and they have been very interactively interlinked with each other, with little one or minor difference with one input or other input, and they are related with the economy of the country, politics of the country, economic and socio development of the country. So, I believe that work is one of the major area which has to be addressed, and it has been addressed by number of social scientists and from the different discipline, largely by economists in terms of work to employment to wages, adjustment to the economy, generating economy, GNP, GDP, many things are linked. Psychologists have also looked at the work from the different perspective, that why people work and why people do not work, and what are the reasons for working, what are the reasons for not working. So, this is large number of people work from that area. Similarly, I mean, politics of work, politics of employment, politics of unemployment, the psychology of employed people. So, all is related to the work. Now, major area of work in our country or major livelihood resource in our country is that 65% of the, not only in our country, of the world population is directly or obliquely engaged in agriculture. Hence, it is a primary livelihood resource, followed by the industrial, technical production, and then the services. Now, work is important and it is an economic activity, but it is not only an economic activity. Work is not just about economic activity, it is about the well-being also, and economic and complete well-being. Work prime concern is economic well-being, but overall concern is the total well-being. And while earning money through the work is one of the concern, one of the major region where we have to focus and where we believe, and from our parents to the elders to the teachers and everybody tells, but work has beyond economics. People do not work merely for the money. Not all the people, majority of the people work for other reasons also, and they are more primary. The dignity, the self-respect is more important than getting the salary and wages. So, people do not work only for money, they work for their own dignity, their own self-understanding, own self-respect, and satisfaction, the creativity, doing something for society, doing something extraordinary, doing differently. These attitudes, these values helps the people to work more and more. Now, working for well-being or improving the quality of life or life satisfaction, the people varies. I mean, the percentage may be that somebody may be working for total well-being or mental well-being, and some believe that quality of life has to be improved, or other for their personal satisfaction. So, money does not matter to them, satisfaction is more and opportunities are more essential. People feel that they are more creative and they are being more recognized and more praised. So, there are these all things are equally important linked with the work. It is not what I am trying to emphasize, that work is not only an economic activity, it is an activity for well-being, and it is not more economic well-being, it is beyond that, and it has many other contours and there are many other things. Some people work for one region and some people work for two regions, or some people work for combination of regions, and that is what decide their work life. Now, the work being important, and I believe that sometimes back when I was trying to discover the development paradigm, I wrote that there are 4 W's which are more important in any development paradigm. Those are the water, work, women and waste. So, 95% to 96% problems or issues are connecting to this with the development issues. Work is being one of the important out of my 4W thesis. The essentiality is that where is work located and what are the availabilities or what are the availability of opportunities for doing the work. Now, if we go by this, the global report, global work report says something different. Almost 202 million people were unemployed in 2013 around the world, and an increase of almost 5 million compared with the year before. That means unemployment is rising, not the work opportunities. Work opportunities are rising, but not into the resonance with the demand. More than half of the developing world workers, nearly 1.5 billion people, are in vulnerable employment, and many of them are underemployment, and underemployment is more risky, more dangerous, more unproductive in comparison to the unemployment. So, underemployment is more dangerous than unemployment, that people are boiling inside, not able to adjust with the work, not able to adjust with the work environment, not able to fit with the workplaces, not able to have the adjustment with the colleagues. Now, the report says that global unemployment rose by nearly 4 million in 2013 and reaching around 200 million, with the global unemployment rate remaining broadly unchanged at 6% rate. That means we have a economy which is jobless, which is not producing the job in last 2-3 years. And what we need that a economy which is creating the jobs for the people, and especially in India, where the demography tells us that in coming years it will be the young state, the people will be in more economically productive groups, therefore demanding more jobs. Now, 30% of the developing world workers remain poor today, and there is more efforts to boost employability and productivity of the poor, as 3 in the 10 workers in the developing world are still trapped in the poverty. So, you might have heard news and number of write-ups that there are many people, those who are earning less than $2 per day, and our below poverty line defines somewhere nearby. But what about the work commitment of the governments and commitment of the people? Is that very clear with the UN International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, as well as the Constitution of India. If we look at the part 3 of these covenants, articles 6 to 15 list the right themselves. These include right to work under just and favorable conditions. So, not only work is important, work as a matter of right to work, but also under the just and favorable conditions, with right to form and join trade unions, the people those who can have the voice through the organizations. Then the issue of social security, including social insurance, the family life, including paid parental leave and protection of children. The other article 11 says an adequate standard of living, which is difficult to define and countries to country will define in its own way, including adequate food, clothing and housing, and the continuous improvement of living conditions. Almost everything is covered under the umbrella of these rights from article 6 to 15, and these rights are very important, and the Constitution of India has also translated some of these rights into the Constitution, either in form of a fundamental rights or in form of a directive principles of state policy. So, we have a adequate attention onto the work, and the other article which says about the highest attainable standard of physical and mental health, education including free universal primary education, generally available secondary education and equally accessible higher education. This should be directed to the full development of human personality and sense of its dignity, enables all persons to participate effectively in the society. Now, these two articles may not be directly connected with the work, but they have a interactive connection with the work. So, these are equally important. Now, having said so, what I was trying to emphasize that the work is very important aspect or integral aspect of the life. Now, this work is also changing in the sense that people are accepting the work, and these workers, if we talk in India, there are 487 billion workers, the second largest workforce after the China. And we have largest segment of this working population in form of a unorganized sector. But we say unorganized sector, sometimes also interchangeably we called it informal sector, but both have difference, little bit difference also. Or own account enterprises refers to the all unlicensed, self-employed or unregistered economic activities such as home based workers, self-employment, employment in household enterprises, small unit, agricultural workers, construction sites, domestic work and myriad other form of casual and temporary employment. Now, only the 6% working workforce is engaged in the organized sector or formal sector, which has a licensed organizations or which have a which can be traced through the registered entities, and they fall under the legislative enactment, and these organizations or this sector pays the taxes in form to the government. Now, there is a definiteness. So, this is a organized, this is called organized in the sense that they have a organized connection to this. Now, I will speak more in context of the organized sector, but my concern is with the 96% population, working population in this country, what we call workers in the unorganized sector. Now, large number of people are in unorganized sector and their characteristics are definitely different than the organized sector workers, and a commission which was set up by the government called National Commission for Enterprises in the Unorganized Sector, NCEUS, under the chairpersonship of Dr. Arjun Sen Gupta, which is also known as Arjun Sen Gupta Committee, submitted its report in 2006. And it has estimated that there are over 340 million, approximately 34 to 37 crores workers in unorganized sector in India. And after the 1992 new economic policy, large number of people have migrated from the organized sector to unorganized sector, somewhere from 10-11% to it remained to the 6%. So, 5-6% shifted into the unorganized sector. And interestingly, this unorganized sector contribute 60% of our national economic output of the country. So, it is equally important. It is not that the organized sector is important. These unorganized people in working in an unorganized sector are very important. And if we look at out of this, a large chunk, around 75% or so, around 28 crore works in the rural sector, of which an estimated 22 crores are in agricultural sector. So, the biggest sector is the agricultural sector, which caters to the unorganized sector, and 6 crores are in urban areas only, and largely people are into the. Now, this change from rural areas to urban areas through the process of migration, and that is why there is a lot of migration in our country, internal migration, also affecting the people, and people do not get job and wages into the agricultural sector, or when agriculture does not produce the employment, they move to the. And however, we have a major scheme what called Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, which ensures 100 days employment to these agricultural workers, which little bit helps to check the migration and provide employment to the 100 days to a family into the rural areas. And it is one of the major and flagship scheme of earlier government, which this present government has also continued and is serving its purpose up to an extent with the lot many if and buts and lot many loopholes in the scheme. But this sector is being catered, which constitute around 28 crores people. Now, interestingly, the women is 1/3, around 11 to 12 crore women are in this unorganized sector and engaged into this economic process, and 8 crores are engaged into the agriculture. So, now these figures gives us and tells us an idea that large number of unorganized sector people are working, and we are not able to ensure what commitment we have given to the international covenant or what the constitutional commitment we have given to the workers. So, the workers and their situation and work which we are talking, both are becoming important for any government from any level, from local level to the state level to the central level. Now, these issues of unorganized workers are too many, and these issues are also interconnected. The first and foremost issue is that this workforce is unregulated. Unregulated means that not many occupations and work has to be governed, like Minimum Wages Act. We have a Minimum Wages Act where we defines the minimum wages for various industries and various occupations and various categories of workers, and skilled workers, unskilled workers, semi-skilled workers, and sometimes we were also categorizing it for women and men also. Now, the issue is that there are some characteristic of this unorganized workforce. They are unorganized because they are not organized, and therefore they lacks the power. They do not have power to voice their issues clearly. Now, I am not saying that there is no organization which is voiced, no organization is available. There are organizations for different sectors like construction workers, like agricultural workers, like domestic workers. There are many, but the combinedly, if we look at the whole sector, there is an issue of low wages. Now, low wages is clubbed with the poor bargaining power. Poor bargaining power is connected with the employment insecurity. There is no fixed employer, so employer is changing. They shift from one place to other place. There is no organized voice, so there is an absence of trade unions or labor unions. There is absence of regulatory framework of their working conditions. There is also absence of social security measures or social protection measures. I am not saying there is nothing available, there are schemes available, but these workers are not benefited by several laws or statutory welfare measures such as maternity benefit, provident fund, gratuity, medical allowances or health issues, accident, death benefit. Though we have made certain efforts, right now Jan Dhan Vikas Yojana, we have the law for construction workers in 1986, we have brought the law for the domestic workers. So, we have a law for different categories of workers in different trade or occupations, but unfortunately, we have difficulties in implementation of these programs or schemes. Like I will give you one example of the construction workers, and I will give you an example of the Delhi itself. Under the law for construction and other workers 1986, protection and regulation of their services and working condition and employment, etc., there is a provision of establishing a welfare board. In Delhi it has been, like any other state, in Delhi it has been established, Delhi Construction and Other Workers Welfare Board, and this board has to be financed through the building and other activities which is going into the state with the tune of a cess equivalent 1%. To my available knowledge, this board is constituted 10 years back, and Delhi has witnessed many construction activities right from the Commonwealth Games onwards, and at a given point of a time there has been 40,000 crore constructions going on in the city. That means this board must be benefited by 400 crores as a cess, and at present probably this board has somewhere around 1000 crores rupees. Now, with a huge fund available for this sector, the fund is being managed by the Labour Department of the City of Delhi, and there is a very small number of people which do not have a capacity to manage this huge fund. So, as an outcome what happens that you have resources, but you do not have the implementation mechanisms, the people, trained people, therefore what happens that this fund is not being utilized and it remains unutilized. And what we are talking, the issues of unorganized sector workers, they remain as it is. So, we have a poor labor administration as far as unorganized worker is concerned, and the remedy to get, either there is no legal remedy in the sense that we have a mechanism of courts, high courts and Supreme Court, but the process is quite lengthy, time consuming, delayed legal remedy, and it is very costly also, and not all the time possible for an individual workers or for a group of workers to go for that. Above all, in this unorganized sectors, we have a very special categories of workers which have our concern as because they are linked with our whole social system, like child workers. Children below the age of 18 years are working in hazardous as well as non-hazardous occupations. And despite the fact that we have a law to prevent the child labor to get in entry, but again the mechanism is very poor. Not only this, with our experience I will tell you that the people those which are being rescued from this work situations, they are not being able to be rehabilitated properly. There is an organization called Bachpan Bachao Andolan, whose chief Mr. Kailash Satyarthi has won the Peace Prize for his work, Nobel Peace Prize for his work. They have rescued more than 80,000 child workers from Delhi and in around the city and some of the other cities. Now, the realities of rehabilitation is that lies with the state government, where they have to be rehabilitated, compensated well as per Supreme Court orders, but not many people, not many children are working, because the rehabilitation of a child worker coming from this unorganized sectors requires a coordination of many agencies. This child has to get admission in education, this child has to be taken care by the health, this child has to be given the proper compensation so that he can be trained and he can be rehabilitated in the family. All these, if you look at, are very dismal, or mechanism are not there. I will not say that there is will is not there or provisions are not there, but a strong will to execute these provisions are not there. So, the issues of unorganized sector remains there and they get compounded. Same is with the case of women workers. Now, another category which is very fastly increasing, disabled workers, people with the person with the disability, and they have to work. So, their employment, while ensured by the law that 3% employment, but to get them and adjusted with the work and workplaces, these disabled workers have a big problem. They face a big problem because the other constituencies or other people are not the same way sensitized or visualize the problems faced by these workers. Unemployed and underemployed, I have already mentioned. So, this issue of organized sector workers are. So, these are the two major areas. Now, if we look at the changing profile of the workforce in India, This is very important to understand what new issues are emerging and how we are not able to connect it with other developmental schemes. As I told you that the issue of dignity in the work is very important, and that dignity of work has not been inculcated or not been given that importance in past, which requires nowadays with the growing concern for the human rights and social justice. I believe that equality and dignity are the two core issues with the changing profile of workers. The today's worker is more concerned on these two issues, and everybody wants a dignity with a work. Now, dignity with a work means that whether work is good or bad, small or big, clean or unclean, higher or lower, top ranking or low ranking, front desk or back desk, there can be various ways to define the work operations, but each work is equally important in completion of a bigger task. In a television production, the anchor is equally important who is on the screen as the script writer, as the technician sitting behind the ball, who is never known by the viewers, but he is equally important for the production of this complete task. Because many works are interdependent and being done by a team or by number of people when they finishes. And if every work has to be dignified and given the equal importance and equal weightage in its completion. Now, look at the, I take you little bit into the grim situation. Look at the work of scavenging in India. The work done by the scavenging by Safai Karmachari, they come from one particular caste segment. That means it has been labeled and tied up with one particular caste, and it does not enjoy that dignity, though the work is very important. Disposal of a dead corpse of a animal, to cleaning of a nala, to sweeping of the road is equally important. We can't live, it cannot create a healthy environment without doing this. I think the biggest one of the component of the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, to my mind, is to look at the work involved into it. And if a work of a scavenger is given the dignity, it has been more mechanized, it has been done by the people beyond the allocated caste, it has been remunerative equally well with other jobs, it has not been attached a social stigma or a social status. I believe that situation will help to make Swachh Bharat Abhiyan a more successful campaign. If we are depending that all the cleaning is to be done by the same set of the people who were doing it from last 200 years, I do not think that any change is possible. So, that is why I am saying the profile of workers has to be is changing, and it has to be seen into this changing light. Why a person from upper caste cannot be engaged as a Safai Karmachari? Why it that where unemployment ridden society, not many people are coming from upper caste forward to join this job? Something wrong somewhere. Probably we have to address these issues very thinkingly, deeply to understand the complications. There is a change in workforce perspective also, what we call generation by. Today's generation, probably the fourth generation of workers, industrial workers, if we look at from the after the First World War, the workforce and factorization and industrialization, fourth generation or fifth generation in 100 years or 102. The early generation was illiterate, rural based, non-technical, manual, labor intensive. They have a loyalty to employer, what has been termed by many as a my-baap culture. Employer is a supreme, termed as Malik. Probably this Malik-Nauker relationship appeared from that scene. Now, but if you look at the today's workers generation, today's generation of workers is educated, is more urbanite, it is more technical, it is skilled, it is more young, it doesn't depends on anybody's mercy, it's more right oriented. And because of this changing profile, there are problems creating and there are disruptions coming into the picture. I am not saying these changes are bad, these changes are very good, but we are not able to address the issues of labor unrest, unemployment, attrition, because we are not able to understand that this is the changing generation and their characteristics are different from their older characteristics or older generation characteristics. Women in workforce. In last 20-30 years, the biggest change in workforce is the entry of our counterpart women into the workforce. Very recently, Delhi government and Delhi police is going to make 33% reservations in the employment in Delhi police. Now, this is the change. In all the occupations, you will find the employment of women. Of course, in the post-globalization, the trade unionism is diminishing, they are losing bargaining power. This is a capital intensive phase, highly technological, technology aided work, and we have the categories of women workers, child workers into that. So, this change of the workers' workplace clubbed with the nature of change in the work, permanent to contractual, permanent to task based, long term employment to short term employment, very focused, have generated many new kind of working class. Contractual workers. Now, large number of positions are on contract, creating new problems, because the moment you put it into the contract, they loses all the other benefits of social security, medical, blah blah blah. Fixed salary employment. So, the nature of work is changing. Virtual employment, task based, people are sitting at home with the help of the technology, internet and other things, they are doing work and transmitting it. Now, that is very good, but on the front of the work or employment conditions or conditions of work, this is missing, and those missing things bringing more burden or more issues to the workers. Now, quickly I will come on to the workplaces. There is a change in the workplace also. Change is inevitable, but there is a fast change at the workplace also. If you remember your few years back, maybe 2-3 decades back, the industry means which is giving black smoke having a big chimney, the dirty lanes of an industrial area with water, discharge of water, waste, bad smell, foul smell, spillover oil here and there. Now the outer space or physical space of the workplace have changed drastically. Beautiful walls, paintings, ergonomics, designed chairs and production seats, keeping in the mind your physical problems. So workplaces are now becoming more healthy, attractive, clean, hygienic, ergonomically designed, fit for employees. So Factories Act 1948, we have to make provisions for that. Provision for change room, provision for canteen, provision for shelter, provision for safety equipments. We have to specify the ventilation, humidity, temperature, all that. That has got revolutionary change. The evolution of the service industry, where customer focused services, making customer comfortable in a competitive market, force the organizations to change the workplace. And consequently, working environment is changing. To some extent, working conditions are, but unfortunately, conditions for work are not changing. Like conditions of work like wages, leave, gratuity, provident fund, social security, social insurance, medical benefit, those things are not changing. Not changing in real sense, giving the real output or real benefit to the workers. They have been redesigned, and if you look at, they are more exploitative in comparison to the earlier counterparts. Traditional production places, offices had gone a drastic change because of the technology, because of the capital intensive investment, because of the competition. But it has opened the new issues at the forefront, like issues of equality, dress codes, similar seats, no discrimination, more teamwork, though teamwork, but within the teamwork assigned task. The new problem for the disabled workers, that it has to be the disabled friendly, as the law provides for person with disability, PWD Act. The different toilets, the ramps, many other things. Another very important issue which has been nowadays the workplaces are facing, sexual harassment of women at workplace. It is increasing, or we do not know whether the reporting has increased, or we do not know whether the women are more aware, they assert their rights, but yes, this problem is there, was undercover, it is now coming up. So the issues we have to search: comfort, well-being of an employee, all has to be. Now within the work, changing work paradigm, there are more pressures on the workers. more competition. The quality concern of the product or services, standardization, international standards, national standards, labor standards, certifications, because this is a competitive market where you have to give your production. So, if we talk of the organized sector, or even at some extent into the unorganized sector where we are delivering the services, these things are in the practice. What it resulting at individual level? More time consumption. Workplace otherwise also for anyone is very significant, because you spend the best part of your life at your workplace, 8 hours. Now 8 hours at workplace influences your 8 hours at beyond the workplace, that means home, and equally the 8 hours at home influence your workplace. So there is a relationship between work and life, but we talk nowadays work-life balance. But this interaction at different places in workplace is very significant. So this new work paradigm which is creating pressures, competitions, brings rising insecurities, culminates into the stress, anxieties. So stress and anxieties are the buzzword of the new work paradigm. And many organizations are fighting to these buzzwords through various different mechanisms, promoting physical fitness to mental fitness to yoga to bringing out life, speaking tree, meditation. All these things are coming to the workplace because there are newer ways to address the rising problems of the new work paradigm. So this maladjustment which is created, which affects the individual productivity and social functioning, both has to be addressed where supervisor has no expertise. Managers do not possess that expertise. Any work has two major components. One is the knowledge part of it, other is the behavioral part of it. Now this interactive knowledge and behavior part of it is very interesting. You are liked by your manager if you know your work. You are liked by your manager if you are very good in behavior, despite the fact you know your work not that well. Now you don't know your work and you have no behavior. Your behavior is not good at workplace. Your manager and your colleagues do not like you. So the whole efforts is nowadays in the training to make you more knowledgeable and learn how to behave at your workplace. That means the both component of your work at workplace, the knowledge and behavior, gets blended to produce a good, comfortable employees who is an engaged employee, who produces more, who work more. Now there are, I will tell you, there is a now people ask what is the future of workplaces, and everybody answer virtual workplaces. And what is this virtual workplaces, we don't know. But one thing is very clear, that coming days the workplaces will be requiring two sets of the people, teamwork and individual work, and a combination, a hybrid workspace, both open and closed environment. So 8 different kind of unassigned workspaces, workstations, touchdown spaces, privacy rooms, focus booths, open project spaces, team rooms, lounge and dance, Western culture named. All this is the new workplaces which is coming up. Separate facility for separate type of workers, for women separate, for disabled workers separate, for men separate. So, the workplaces will be going a revolutionary changes in time to come, and this technology aided services is going to determine the workplaces space. Now, nobody has a attendance register. Touch a screen and put your attendance in and out. Now, what is the solution of all this? Let us talk little bit. I do not have a ready-made solution for all the problems, but I have a way of looking at these problems, and if we change our way of looking, we can resolve some of the issues arising out of this changing paradigm of work, workers and workplaces. And they are interactive, all three interacting together. I think the top of the agenda should be the well-being of people. If well-being is our agenda, and from that lens if we look at the work, workers and workplaces, no matter what way we are giving work and we are taking work, no way from where worker is coming, what background, we will be able to decide our policies and program in favor of all. Now, improving work to the welfare and now talking of the decent work, which is an ILO agenda, talks of the social protection, I think that should be the approach. Can we have a GHP, gross happiness product at workplace? Instead of calculating in terms of economics, wealth, income, output, can we work on that? Many people are working on that, but can we make a part of our work culture or work environment or our workplace? Happiness index. How happy you are after doing the work. That will be the solution. The moment we will start looking at the happiness, probably the work behavior paradigm will work more faster. As a student of social work offers this solution. Social work is a academic discipline and a professional activity, which is a professional practice based activity, which talks of addressing social change, help the individual groups and communities in overcoming the difficulties and restrictions and barriers, creating structures which help the people in attaining the well-being, social justice, attaining the human rights. Now, one branch of social work is occupational social work. Occupational social work is related the study and practice of work, workers and workplaces. And it negotiates between work, workers and workplaces demands, needs, aspirations, issues, challenges. So, the social work people who have been trained into their professional practice, engaged by the corporates or organizations, will be able to understand this changing dynamics and can research issues, can make the intervention, can design the possible outcomes. So, labor welfare is an old word. Employees development is also okay, but we are talking nowadays of employees assistance program. How employees can be assisted in their personal or group problems, including family problems, and how they can be made more attentive, more knowledgeable towards their own work. So, the issues of family, personal issues, drug addiction, stress, anxiety, better mental health, reducing tension, more cooperation and more cooperative attitude, all has to be developed through the designed interventions. Well, apparently in one hour discussion, I cannot specify for one particular organization. I have made a broad generalizations, but for different kind of organizations, there are different kind of issues. BPO will be having a different issue and problems and challenges in comparison to the government department. Technology aided office will be having a different issue to a production house. But the core is the well-being of the people. So, starting with the 3 W's, work, worker and workplaces, I would like to add the 4th W into it discussion for well-being. I hope that I am able to communicate you the significance of these 3 W for the 4th W.
With this note, thank you, sir. Thank you so very much for delivering such a nice lecture, giving us such a productive session. I hope that all the students who might have watched us would be benefited from this particular lecture, though we have very few minutes left with us. My question to you only is how much motivation plays an important part, because everywhere we go, any work we do, motivation is the foremost key to work and work. In that circumstances, how motivation plays an important part. If there is no motivation, does the chances of saturation are likely?
You know, motivation has its own role, it has its own place, but motivation for what? It cannot be one way only. It has to be seen in a two-way exchange. I am motivated to work hard, but in turn what I am getting from my organization. So the organization has also to redesign it. And sometimes what we do when we decide the tasks, we decide the impossible tasks. When we fix the targets, we fix very hard targets. You know, the idea is that worker is not a commodity which has to be consumed within few days, few hours or few years. It has to be protected and given chance to develop for a longer period of time. With a longer span, it brings more creativity, because the work is not only performing certain activity, it is creativity, it is within you, it is skills that gives the satisfaction. So one has to understand that work is not mechanical, work needs investment, the investment of self, and there what people enjoy is working. So motivation is good, and many organizations are working from last many years, right from Alport to till date. You know, many psychologists have talked about the motivation, but motivation has also a limit, and it has to be seen in context of the other parameters.
Definitely, it should be seen in the context of the other parameters, but I hope that this very lecture would have motivated you to view our future lectures also, as I would like to tell you all that Dr. Sanjay Bhatt would be again with us tomorrow, and we would be taking up one another serious issue on which we are going to talk in the area of the social work. Thank you, sir. Thank you so very much.
Thank
Dear
you very
friends,
much.
if you have any queries, you can mail us at info.cec@nic.in. Till then, thank you.